Welcome back to Raising Truth Podcast. Thank you for joining again. I hope that the last episodes have blessed you, and I'll continue to put out more episodes as I feel led in the topics, however the Lord leads and what topics to go. I do want to, remain focused on having conversations that reflect in, the household, as a mother, as a parent, as a spouse, period, when my husband's here and we can talk about those things. But I want to remain in having those conversations, honest conversations in areas of the household, but remaining grounded in your faith, remaining grounded in, in what God's will is for us, and remaining grounded in what the Bible says in these areas. Last time we talked about healed behavior, right? Coming into these situations, reflecting healed behavior, coming into the holidays. Now, I want to kind of focus in that because I feel like I can share not only how I, have navigated as a parent, within the holidays, but also share so that a person doesn't feel obligated or, to be a certain way during the holidays, right? There's a lot of pressure around the holidays and how a parent should be and how a spouse should be. There's a lot going on there, and, a lot of people don't like to talk about it. But let's talk about it. Let's get into that. Today, we're going to talk about the go-getter. Who is the go-getter, right? The go-getter is known for being a person who's a busybody, who's always doing something, always up to something. They're always going after what they want. They're always going after their goals. They're always, constantly moving, constantly doing things. They're not waiting around for anybody. And that's great. It's great to be that, to be that person. The Bible is telling us to, work hard. But at what point does that mentality become harmful to us? At what extent does becoming a go-getter work against us or work against what God has for us? Especially, and this is in general, right? You can apply this in general, not just during these times, but at what point does the go-getter, harm us, all the wonderful things that the Lord has for us, and harm exactly where the Lord wants us to be? So the go-getter, I want you to reflect, right? And if you consider yourself a go-getter, this is not coming against the go-getters, right? It's not a bad way of being, but it's a moment of, again, reflection. That's why I want to have these conversations in these episodes, because I want to continue to open up moments of reflection. So if you consider yourself a go-getter, or maybe you don't consider yourself a go-getter, but you're like, why am I not? I want to be, right? Being a go-getter has, its great advantages, right? Because you get things done, right? The Bible does tell us to work hard. But again, at what point does it become harmful for us? At what point does it take us away from the will of God? Now, I want you to reflect on these questions. Is the go-getter actually getting? What are they getting? Is the go-getter actually doing what God wants them to do? Or what they enjoy? Or are they even doing what they enjoy in the first place? Are they enjoying what they're doing? Are they enjoying what they're trying to get in the first place? I know it sounds like a jumbled up questions, but these are things to reflect. Are they getting just to get? Are they remaining busy and accomplishing things or doing things just to get? At what point is there no actual value or intention in what they're getting? Now, when the go-getter is so busy, they're busy, they're doing all they could possibly do because they're self-motivated. They want to always be moving, always want to be doing. But at what point, when you think back, what are they actually getting? Is there value and intention behind what they're going after, behind what they're, constantly trying to accomplish, trying to reach, right? Is their value still there? Is their intention still there? Do they actually themselves enjoy or want whatever it is that they're, aiming to get, or they're getting, they're doing and getting and achieving all these levels and all this stuff? Are those things what they actually want, what they actually desire, what they want to be doing in the first place? And are those things actually what the Lord wants them to do in the first place? Because you could be going, getting, but it's not what the Lord wants for you. It's not what he has for you. And oftentimes, okay, the Lord would allow you to have these things because he's so gracious to us. He's a giving God, right? You'll be blessed in all that you do, and you work hard for it. You will achieve it, right? But are these things that you're constantly going after and working hard, is that even what the Lord wants for you, right? Let's take a step back from all the keeping yourself busy just to be busy. Oh, because you have to be doing stuff because, right, you constantly have to be moving. Let's take a step back. What do I want? What do I want to do? What do I enjoy? What does the Lord have for me? What does the Lord want me to do? Because then what happens? You're doing, but there's no value in it. There's no intention. You're just keeping yourself busy and doing things and achieving things and operating even in levels or in areas that maybe you don't even belong there, because that's not what the Lord had for you. That's not what he wants for you. But because you're constantly busy, you're constantly I need to be in all these things and achieve all these things, but that's not what the Lord has for you. So you may not even belong there in the first place. You might not even be necessarily enjoying that place where you're at. And then what happens? There's no value or intention in the things that you're doing within that area. And then what? You can be burnt out, right? Essentially, the go-getter can be burnt out. And then the people that you're supposed to be blessing, right? You may not be necessarily even blessing the people around you because you're not meant to be there, and you're not even doing it with any type of genuine intentions, because you're too busy just accomplishing, just doing, just keeping busy. So you're burnt out and just checking things off a list. And that's literally what it becomes, just things on a list, things to just, because I just have to, right? Let us not take away the wanting to be productive, right? The getting things done, the working hard. Let's keep all of those things, but let's add intention. Let's add value. Let's add obedience to what the Lord wants for us, right? And in these holidays, when you're a go-getter and you're just doing, right? You're yeah, I need to do all these things, right? And please everyone around me, please all my family, my children, everything that everybody wants. But then you're burnt out. And then you may even do things that you don't even want to do, things that are not grounded in the faith that you believe in, right? Let's go back. First, let's go to Romans 12:11. It says, never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. So we're going to work hard, but we're also going to serve the Lord enthusiastically, right? Not just checking off, lists because we're trying to reach certain levels. We're trying to do certain things. No, we want to operate with intention. We want to serve the Lord well in the things that he has for us, right? Let's go to Ephesians 5:15-17. I'm just going to read a couple things to you. Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. So we need to pray for understanding for what the will of the Lord is. And we need to be what? Wise, making the best use of time. So I want you to reflect that it's okay to make the best use of your time. You don't need to overstretch just because. No, let's ask the Lord for understanding and wisdom, like we talked about last time. Understanding and wisdom for what choices to make. We need to understand what the will of the Lord is. We need to understand that we don't need to stretch, right, in those certain ways where we don't feel led to. And especially more for the things that we know do not align with our faith, that we know that do not align with the lives that we're trying to live. We need to make the best use, not just use time. We need to make the best use of time. So yes, let's work hard. Yes, let's get things done. Yes, let's accomplish all the wonderful things that you're capable of accomplishing. But do it because the Lord said so, because the Lord put it in your heart to accomplish these certain things, because you feel led in these certain areas, because you feel led to do these certain things, because you feel it in your heart. The Lord put certain things in your heart to accomplish, to do, not just doing things just because. Because otherwise, there's not going to be fruit flowing out of that when you're just doing things to do it, because you're not doing it enthusiastically. You're not serving the Lord enthusiastically. You're doing it just because. There's nothing coming out of that. And for a long time, I had that in my mind. Like I was, raised to be independent. And then even because of life circumstances, so I became even more independent at a very young age. So I always, from a very young age, had it in my mind, I had to do. I got to get things done. This can't be, certain ways. I have to accomplish certain things. But throughout the years, the intentionality behind certain things, the purpose, right? It got lost in that because I became efficient at accomplishing, but not efficient in doing things with purpose, in understanding and planning ahead and choosing things or doing things with wisdom. No, it was just being effective at accomplishing, right? For example, and this has nothing to do with the holidays, but we're talking about, doing things with intention, with purpose, right? With understanding, right? Being in the will of the Lord. I was the best student. Like I had straight A's, right? Like high school, college, went to college, right? Because again, that's what was like you had to do. You had to graduate high school, you had to go to college, right? So I did that. But I didn't have any real understanding or plan at all. I just knew this is what I had to do. I had to go to school and I had to get good grades, and that's it. And I was a master at being efficient. I got work done. I was the best student. I had straight A's. I was breezing by, classes. Like I was a nerd, but I wasn't really like making any friends. Like I went through college. I made I think one or two friends, one who I'm still friends with today. And that was like a God ordained relationship. But I didn't focus on anything else. I didn't focus on building community. I didn't focus on what was the purpose or plan after. I just breezed by and got through college because again, I just had to. It was a check that I had to just check off my list. And I graduated, top honors, all of that. All the accolades and bells and whistles. Like I was top nerd. But then after, right? Maybe a year, a couple months after I graduated, it was like, now what? Right? Like I did it. I didn't have any plan after. Right? I mean, essentially, yes, I put some work to my degree and I pursued something, but I didn't have no plans. There was no passion behind it. Like, I was just very efficient at getting things done. So what happened? I graduated and I was a burnt out student with no real plan or purpose after. I did not build community. I did not build anything on really myself. There was nothing really, right, that came out of that with greater purpose or intention, right? And then that's what we have essentially done with our life. The go-getter has become a person who just checks, check, check, but no purpose, no intention, no fruit coming out of it, right? You're not operating in the will of the Lord. Nothing was coming out of that because I'm just doing this just because. And that just happens in the roles we fulfill, right? But then again, what comes out of that? You're not resting. Even the go-getter feels guilty of rest. And that was even me. Even sometimes now I still struggle. But you become a burnt out person because you're such a go-getter that you feel guilty of rest. And you feel so guilty that you even can't even stand looking at other people not doing as much as you're doing. Even though they could be doing exactly what the Lord is telling them to do. But you yourself, as a go-getter, you feel guilty to rest. And then you also feel critical of others who are doing exactly what the Lord tells them to do, but you're feeling critical because you're like, you feel they're not doing as much as you. But you need to reflect back. Okay, but are they doing what the Lord told them to do? They're staying in their lane. Are they, progressing, right, in the direction that they're supposed to be going, right? Because again, they're progressing. If they're progressing, right, that's what matters. They're progressing and remaining in the will of the Lord, progressing in what the Lord told them to do. They don't need to do as all bells and whistles and all that you're doing. As long as they're being obedient to what the Lord told them to do and they're progressing. They could be progressing in what the Lord told them to do. And for you, it's still, they're not doing as much as me. Well, they took a minute to rest. And how could they, right? How could they? No, rest is God ordained. Rest is your portion. Talking to the go-getter, rest is your portion. You do not need to feel guilty about it. And you don't need to be critical of others about it. Now, let's go to Hebrews 4:9-11. So there is a special rest still waiting for the people of God. For all who have entered into God's rest have rested from their labors, just as God did after creating the world. So let us do our best to enter that rest. But if we disobey God as the people of Israel did, we will fall. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 14. And so, dear friends, while you are waiting for these things to happen, make every effort to be found living peaceful lives that are pure and blameless in His sight. So rest is your portion. And you are to what? Make every effort to be found living peaceful lives, pure and blameless in His sight. So when did we complicate things? When did we decide that being the ultimate restless go-getter was the way to be? And it's such a busy season. It's almost like, that's the way you need to be doing all these things. You need to be going crazy right now. But when did we complicate things? When did we make this a thing? When that's not what the Lord is saying. He's saying, serve enthusiastically. He's saying, yes, work heartily as for the Lord. He's saying, never be lazy. But He's also saying to be found living peaceful lives, pure and blameless. And He's also saying that we have rest in Him. So when did we glamorize the restless go-getter? No. It's to be doing His will. resting when he says rest, accepting his special rest, and living peaceful lives in him. We don't need to complicate it. We don't need to perform for other people. I'm done performing for other people. I have entered the time in my life where I'm truly focused on my family, on my children, and doing what the Lord asks of me. I am not going to, overly extend myself in areas that the Lord did not tell me to go, did not tell me to do, just because I'm doing it. No, doing what he says and when he says it. If you're feeling restless, I pray that you find rest in him and that you don't feel guilty of that. And that you ground yourself, that even when all things around seem busy and loud right now, you focus on the Lord. Not all the things that you feel like you need to do and accomplish. No, focus on the Lord and what he tells you to do and how he tells you to do it and how he has put it in your heart to serve your family, not how everyone else does it. Don't feel guilty when you're not doing as much, when you're not, seeing all the light shows and going to every parade and buying every latest tech and gift and all that stuff. Do not feel guilty. Remain and have peace in the Lord and what and how he guides you. And I'm so if you need prayer right now about that, stop right now and pray and reflect. Say, Lord, I'm sorry that I have not accepted your rest. I'm sorry that I'm so adamant on performing for others and doing all that I see. I'm sorry, Lord, and I'm coming back to focusing on you. What the season is about, which is joy and celebrating you. The gift that is you, Lord. Fix my eyes back to that so that I can now serve my family better, serve my family with intention and not just checking off, boxes. Serve with quality and intention back into it. Do not feel guilty. Do what the Lord says and how he tells you to do it. I hope this quick just a message on the go-getter blessed you. I did not want to overcomplicate it. I don't want to ramble away about a bunch of stuff, but rather a moment of reflecting. It's not bad to be a go-getter. It's not bad to have that mentality. It is good. It is good to be enthusiastic in a good way about the things you're doing. It's good to be like, I like to do things. I need to keep busy, right? But don't be afraid or critical of rest and do things with intention, not just because. Let's reflect on what other reasons are behind what you're doing, not just doing it just because. It's the reflection part, the heart part. So I pray that this blesses you and that you have a joyful season. I'm going to continue to make videos and episodes here on the podcast of reflecting on certain things within this season that we need to really just kind of take a step back and think about and get grounded and rooted again. So I pray that this blessed you. Please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Share on your social medias. Pass it to, someone who needs to hear this in this time. And I pray that it blesses everyone who encounters. God bless, and thank you again for tuning in to Raising Truth Podcasts.